Alright, so you've probably just lost a bunch of money, or actually never had that much to begin with. Well, no need to worry, you're in luck. In this video, I'll break down how to use having little to no money and the complete lack of money and never really having any money to fuel success in your business. At the end, I'll actually reveal how I'm currently using this in my current situation, which is literally having £0 to my name. Actually, negative if you actually look into it enough. And I know I'm still going to succeed in my business. And without any further ado, let's get right into it. So now, first things first, for the rest of this video, you're going to need to understand this first concept most importantly. And it's just simply the fact that money is not real. And what do I mean by that? Well, money actually isn't real. If you look at what fiat money is, it's just money printed by a central bank, which then we will then use to go into the country we are in and barter with one another, which makes sense, right? We need something to barter with so that we don't go around killing each other just for piece of food or a piece of bread. And that then builds this idea in people's minds that, okay, money is not real, but I need money, and if I don't have money, something's wrong with me, or if I don't have money, I'm broke, or if I don't have money, I'm a loser, basically. The idea that people attach value to this thing which is printed out of thin air that has no intrinsic value is generally, for me now, I've sort of seen the other side of this. It's a very interesting concept to me, but just understanding generally that money isn't real will also help you detach from not having money and understand that that money you don't have doesn't really matter because it's not real. And in the future, more money will be printed, which means in the future, you will also be able to get money again, if that makes sense. Now you understand that, I can just continue on to the next point, which is now you know you don't have money, which means you can't afford to do things in the world, which means you can't afford to be distracted, which means you need a way to generate money. You need a way to generate money that doesn't cost money, which means you can use yourself to go out into the marketplace, go out into an industry and provide value, and in return get some money, because obviously we need money to eat and survive. But what do I mean by this? Well, if you have no money, you can't afford to maybe go out on the weekend and party with friends or do some nonsense or go for a nice lunch, which you don't really need to, but you just want to have. And this means you have no choice but to lock in and no choice but to have an idea that will generate you money. Otherwise, you're probably going to be sleeping outside or not fortunate enough to have parents who will look after you or people who will let you stay at their house for free. And the reason why this is so important to sort of detach from is because this is the risk that most people face when they want to take a leap of faith and go for something big in their life. They fear losing stuff. And once you really lose all your money or you don't have a penny to your name, you overcome that fear because you're living in what most people are scared of. And once you're there, you can look around and realize, well, you're still getting fed. You still got a roof over your head. All right, you can't go out and do all the crazy things you want to do in the world, but you're alive, which means you can still do something. And in that doing something, as long as your mind is right, as long as you've got a vision which you're willing to see through amidst the struggle like losing all your money, then you can do it. You just gotta not lose sight of the goal because of you lost a bit of money and you got some expenses that need to be paid. Like even in this moment, I ain't gonna lie, I got money that's being charged to me for late payments and stuff, which I know isn't good in theory, but I know in the next few months or even weeks now, as things get better and better, that I'll finally get the clients in, I'll get that first bit of income in and I'll be able to pay off all of that. But it's just this idea of people fear losing all their money, and if they attach their value to their money, and it just holds them back, like it keeps them stuck in this position where they don't want to lose, so they hold on to the little that they have, which actually stops them from getting more. Because we all know the saying, no risk, no Rari, right? Which means without taking a risk, you've got no chance of getting somewhere better in life, i.e. getting a Ferrari. If this is a risk most people are scared of, but you can take it, then the upside is infinite, because once you get to rock bottom or having no money, you can climb your way back up to the top. And in doing that, you then also become fearless because you actually know what it's like to have no money. So when you go on and you make your money and you do well in life, you also then don't have to fear the idea of having no money because you know what it's like already. So you actually have some unique experience that most people will never face in life, which also will probably stop most people from getting where they truly want to get to in life. And yeah, I even have a story from some of my time working in the city from this, which was, I remember one of the hardest working people on the desk with me, he was talking about how most businesses will fail ultimately due to a lack of cash. And obviously, I assume most people, if you're willing to go broke for your idea, you don't actually have such a huge or enormous business that's going to do hundreds of millions or even billions in volume or in revenue in a year or whatever. So we're talking like small amounts here, maybe a few hundred, maybe a few thousand. But if you're willing to risk a few hundred, a few thousand to go and get the larger sums of money which you're seeking, then by detaching from the fear of losing money or allowing a lack of money to stop you pushing your business idea, then you're essentially free in your mind to go and get whatever you want in life. Because if that's what's stopping most people and you don't let that stop you, then you're actually free to go on and succeed whatever you want, provided you don't let anything stop you and provided you're doing everything obviously ethically, you ain't trying to cross no one or whatnot. I can even give another story from when I was at university, when I was playing football, or university college for some people, and I was playing football, soccer for some people. This is when I was in my second year after the interesting first year I had, which then led me to almost a rock bottom, and then had to pull it out of the bag again and then pass my degree and continue progressing, then play football. This was the time where I was still thinking I wanted to go pro. Then at this time, I remember I was going for a team I just found. Me and one of my friends that I live with, one of my housemates, we found a team. And in that team, at first we just thought, all right, let's get into the reserves, then from the reserves we can work our way up. And I remember when we went for this sort of trial, we did a few training sessions. You know how it is when you're trying to break into a team. And in those first few training sessions, I remember the gaffer wasn't really feeling our thing, like he wasn't really showing respect for the amount of grace we were bringing to the football pitch. And with that, he didn't actually want to sign us and initially rejected us once we finally asked him, like, what's the decision? And fair enough to my friend, because he said, you know what, it's not that thing. He doesn't want to go and he doesn't want to play football. And I thought, fair enough. But I knew in my mind, I'm not letting this guy stop me. I know I was better than most of the players there, with all due respect. I knew I was good enough to be in that team. So I just pulled back up the next training session, acted like nothing happened. Then I went up to him. I was like, Gaffer, you can't do this to me. Like, I know I should be here. And he's like, you know what? Welcome to the team. And essentially, just by not letting his belief that he could tell me I have to go back stop me, I was able to get into the team, but then eventually work my way up to the first team. And this is the point. You can't let the idea of not having stuff stop you, because a lot of the successful people online who I've been watching the last few years, and even myself, as I assume I will be in the next few years, we lack stuff too. We just don't let it stop us. And ultimately, that is the difference. So I know this has been a longer ramble than usual, but just don't let the idea of not having money stop you. Find creative ways to go and get money. Even for myself, I know recently I've mentioned that I've had to go do gardening to generate the income for this business that I'm trying to get off the ground. And even that idea only started because I lacked money. I remember I literally planning to go to the gym. It was about 2 a.m. Then I realized, oh, my card will decline. Damn, I need a way to generate cash. I was like, cool, let me go around, ask people if they need any gardening services. Then from doing that, I was able to actually generate a decent amount of money in a short amount of time, which has now allowed me to fund my business for the last few months, which obviously it wasn't going to last forever, which I didn't expect it to. But just by doing that and understanding that, okay, I can actually go out and get money into the marketplace if I wish to, now I can actually have the sovereignty and the choice to actually choose what do I actually want to go and do. Hence why I've chosen starting a business that is actually scalable, because I think that will be a bit more fun, a bit more entertaining, and a bit more of a roller coaster, which is a fun ride. So with that being said, I just want people who are watching this to understand I'm literally skint right now. Like, I'm 22 years old and I'm older than the amount of pounds that I have to my name, but I'm not going to let that stop me. And I think that's very important, so that people can understand that whatever you're going through in life, whatever you think is holding you back, you just can't let it stop you. And I can actually share right now, yesterday I just got rejected from like a closed private network group, which was for like all high level tech people in the Web3 space, which is something I'm trying to break into. And even with that being said, I'm unfazed, because yes, that would have made things easier. Yes, that would have gave me a better network. And yes, I could have done a lot more in a shorter amount of time if I broke into that. But at the same time, so what? I can still grind and get into other networking groups, or build my own networking group, or I can just continue to elevate myself and provide enough value to the marketplace where instead of me having to apply, they're actually trying to invite me and get me to join, so I actually have the control over the decision. This is what I just wanted to sort of highlight in this video, is that obviously it's more about money, because money is what stops most people from doing things. They think they need more money to start their business, which isn't actually true. Often what they need is just more effort to put in so that they can start their business. And it's just the idea that to not let anything stop you. And this is why it's a mental game. The game of business, I would say, is a mental game, which is about like character and people's personalities. So you just need to make sure that your mentality and like self-identity and self-confidence is rock solid. And once you've got that, I believe business should then become easier to you. And obviously don't go around be an arrogant person, step on other people's feet and be disrespectful and that, but go around and ethically be a savage, as I always like to say. With this, obviously this is one main mentality shift. Just understand the money's not real. You need to detach from it, and once you detach from the idea of money and things, you'll be able to see the world on a completely different lens. And once you do that, I believe generally going into the marketplace and trying to provide value and services will be much better for you, and you'll be less attached to the money you can get, more the relationships you can build, the people you can serve, and the value you can provide. Ultimately, this is like the key thing I'm going through right now. As I shared with my business, I'm trying to get it out the mud. Recently just running out of cash. I'm literally relying on free subscriptions to keep going right now. I'm grateful that these services even provide free subscriptions after paying for such a long time. Just running on these free subscriptions, these free trials to keep my stuff going. But I know in the future I'll succeed, because in my mind I've chosen to. So I know it's not there yet. I know this is the part where you have to be delusional, as they say, but I know in a short enough time or a long enough time I will be successful, because one, I'm simply choosing to not give up and simply choosing to detach from the idea that having no money means something's wrong with my idea or I'm broke or something like that. Because ultimately being broke isn't a condition of your pocket. Being broke is a condition of your mind. So once you detach from the money being worthy and worth something, because once you detach from the money being worth something and it determining how wealthy you are, you actually understand the world in a completely new light. You're able to think more abundantly, and it's just served you much better, not tying so much value to something that is printed out of thin air and isn't real, such as money or fiat money as we understand today. And this is just one key mentality you need to understand, is to not let anything stop you, which I've alluded to before. But there are 5 mental shifts that you truly need to make to guarantee success in business, which I've made a video on, which I'll leave a link in the description, which I highly recommend watching. And without any further ado, have a good one. And I know I've finished the video, but just one more thing to add is, there's a story of Alexander the Great, and there was a homeless philosopher called Diogenes. And Diogenes had nothing to his name. He was sleeping outside, literally didn't have a penny to his name. And Alexander the Great pulled up to him and he said, "I'm Alexander the Great, the conqueror of all. I can give you anything you want, just say it and it shall be given unto you," almost as if he was God. And Diogenes literally just asked Alexander the Great, "Can you move out of the way, you're blocking the sun?" And in that moment, Alexander the Great declared that everybody wants to be Alexander the Great, but if Alexander the Great wasn't himself, he would choose to be Diogenes, highlighting to the fact that Diogenes, who was the homeless philosopher who had nothing to his name, actually had more in that moment than Alexander the Great, because he detached psychologically from the idea that it was material possessions that he needed to possess. And by no means am I trying to say I'm going to pull off a Diogenes here. If anything, it would be a bit between Diogenes' mindset and Alexander the Great's material wealth, if I'm being honest, as I sit here and read Psychology of Money. So yeah, just wanted to add that to the video. Have a good one. Link in the description for 5 mentality shifts you need to make.